Ladies and gentlemen and graphic designers, we're going to do Photoshop lesson 1, and we're going to answer the question, what is Photoshop? Photoshop is software that is extensively used by a lot of people for raster image editing, graphic design, and digital art. You edit photos, you draw pictures, you make magazine covers, all sorts of things. All right, don't forget that when you see red text, you need to stop and take notes. When you see green text, I'm telling you to do stuff. Just do what I say, and if you see any other color text, learn the stuff. What is Photoshop? Write this down. What is a raster design? Write this down in your notes. Also, make sure that you're rewriting it in your own words so that's meaningful to you. Okay, so what is raster? Raster, it means pixels. So let me show you this. What I'm talking about. Okay, this is the thing we're going to work on here in a second. So if we're going to zoom in on this, let's zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, and this picture is just made up of a bunch of squares, right? It's a bunch of squares. Those are the pixels. And so raster, basically, a raster image is an image made up of pixels, unlike Illustrator, which is made up of curves that are Bezier curves that are made up of formulas that never pixelate. Okay, so write this down. A pixel equals a small square on the screen. PPI is the pixels per inch. This is going to become important later because you can really mess up if you don't set this right. The resolution is the number of squares or the quality. So later on, again, we're going to talk more about this, but make the resolution appropriate for the way you're going to use the image. So right now, we're just opening up images, so we don't need to worry about it. But when you're making your own image, your own Photoshop document, you need to make the resolution appropriate for the way you're going to use the image. Otherwise, you're going to end up with really poor quality. Write this down. All right, so again, so 300 PPI for print. That's a nice file for like printing, so it's a nice high quality. When you're working on the internet, you don't need as high a quality because you want things to load faster, and it can only look so good anyways because you're working with a monitor. So 72 pixels per inch is fine for when you're making web pages or putting pictures on the web. CMYK is cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. I showed you the other day, or I should have, that when you open up the printer, that the ink cartridges in there are those 4 colors, and that's good for printing a 4-color publication. So most publications are printed with 4 colors like that. If you're using just a monitor or making things for the web, RGB is fine. That's good for web pages. Write this down. And we're going to explore this more as we go. All right, so one thing I need for you guys to do is download the stuff. So what I'm going to have you do is go to the files, right? Go to Canvas and go to the files, and I want you to find the files, and I want you to download lesson 01A, 01B, and 01C. So you right-click on that, you download it and open it, right-click this, download it, and then open it, and finally download this and open it. So get all those things downloaded, double-click on them, open them, and then we're going to work on them. Okay, so we need to save everything. Did I tell you to save it? Did I tell you to save it in the right spot? Okay, well, oh yeah, make a folder called Raster Design Photoshop and save it in there. So what you have to do is once you get these 3 things open, you're going to go File, and you're going to go Save As, and you're going to save it in your folder with your name on it. You're going to save it in your folder with your name on it. You're going to find Creative Computers. You're going to make a new folder called Raster Design Photoshop, and you can probably make a new folder called Photoshop Lessons, open it, and save it in there. And save it in there. Okay, so get everything all saved in there. Okay, so what are we doing here? All right, lesson 1A. Okay, so in order to edit something, you have to edit it first? No, you have to select it first. This is one of the main skills in Photoshop. Put select it first. Use the elliptical bar key tool to select the French coin. Let's try that. Let's go over here and let's take a look at what we're going to do. Okay, so we're going to go to 01A start. Okay, so I'm going to double click on the hand. okay, and get this. So we want to take this French coin and we want this to be highlighted and everything else to be darkened, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the elliptical marquee tool because watch this. So if I want to do something just to the coin, I have to select it first. So the elliptical marquee tool selects things that are circular. By the way, I didn't get it, so if I use the space bar, I can move my selection around. If I hit the Alt key, I can select from the center out, but the space bar is what I want to do. So I'm going to click and drag, hit the space bar to move the selection, click and drag until I get a really nice selection. All right, you do the same thing. Okay, so I have it selected, so now I can edit it. But I want to show you something. So I'm going to click on the paintbrush tool, and the paintbrush tool is, I have it kind of, it's not very hard, so it's going to be fuzzy. And so I'm going to paint on this thing. Oh, I was messing around before. This shouldn't be there. Ha ha ha. Okay, so I can click on it and I can go like this, which was really cool, right? No, it's not cool at all because look what I just did. So if I zoom in and you can see the pixels, what did I do? I actually I didn't do it individually, but the program went to each pixel and it changed the color of each pixel based on that thing, right? And so if later on it's like, oh, I don't like that, I want to put it back to how it was, I can't. I've destroyed all those pixels. Or I didn't destroy them, I changed them, but I changed them permanently. Okay? And so because I just did it, I can go edit, step back, or I can press Alt Control Z, and I'll do it on the keyboard now, Control Alt Z, and I'll keep clicking it, and then I can go back. Okay? So I did what's called destructive editing. Okay? So by the way, write this down. When you're using the elliptical marquee tool to select things, the space bar will move the selection, then the Alt will change it to go from the center out, which is helpful. All right, if you ever make changes to the coin, the pixels are changed forever. When you change pixels, this is called destructive editing. You don't want to do this. Sometimes you have to, but if you can get away with it without doing it, you don't want to do it that way. Okay? But here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this. All right, so we've selected this. Now, I want to make some changes, but I want to make, so let's go ahead and, like I just showed you, the changes were made only to the coin. And let me just show you this again. If I come over here, I can't make changes. I can only make changes to the coin. You can only make changes to what you selected. Okay, but I'm going to hit Control Alt Z and go back. Okay, but we don't want to make changes to the coin. We want to make changes to everything but the coin, so we're going to go Select Inverse. So now I've selected everything but the coin. All right, so now I'm going to show you how to make a change that is not destructive, that we can reverse very easily. But what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and this thing, let's see if it'll show us what it's called. No, I hate that. All right, so we're going to click on this and we're going to go to okay, so we're going to click on this thing and we're going to pick one that's going to help us mute everything else. So let's go to, you can try different ones, but I'm going to go with hue saturation. And so we're going to darken it. You can see it's doing everything but the coin. You can mess around with the saturation up and down. You can change the hue, which isn't going to make a lot of difference with it like that. Okay, so there we go. We have that. And the nice thing about it is that we can turn that on and off. So this is just a layer, and I can turn that layer off, and it just, no pixels were destroyed. It's just kind of a layer on top of it that affects the way we see the pixels below, but we didn't really destroy any. Okay? All right, so do that, and make sure you save your changes, and make sure you save it in the correct folder. All right, let's do lesson 1B now. Let's go and do lesson 1B. Okay, so we've opened B, we've saved it. Okay, on this particular one, we're just going to use the text tool. So we click on the text tool, and we click, and we start typing. Okay, so I typed Monday is beach cleanup day, and this is really small. So I'm going to hit Shift, Control, and then the caret key, or the period, and I'm going to make it bigger and get it to the size I want. Okay, and this works just like we would expect. We can change the font to whatever we want it to be. So pick one that you like that looks nice. Okay, and then we're also going to change the color. So we're going to click on the color, and we're going to choose a color that we think is attractive and that one that we can see. And I like that one, and I'm going to click OK. And that's kind of it for this one. So we just wanted to add the text. So the nice thing is, if you look over here, it added a layer so we can turn it on and off. And so it's nice because the text is kind of an object, and we can just grab it, so it's always kind of available, so it doesn't mess up the pixels. If we want to edit it, see how I made the L the wrong thing, we can click on the text tool. We can go right there, and then we can hit on a lowercase l. All right, so save your changes to this one as well. And then the next thing that we're going to do is lesson 1C, so get that one open. And so on lesson 1C, we're going to select the tie, and we're going to make some changes to it. So instead of, obviously the marquee tool is not going to work because the tie is not a circle. So on this one, we can use either the magic wand or the quick selection tool. Let's use the magic wand. So the tolerance is 32. That's standard. We're going to talk more about it later. So if I click, it selects everything based on color, and when it gets to something like the black edge that's not the same color, it stops selecting. If I want to add to the selection, I'm going to hit Shift, and I'm going to add to that. So now the idea with this is we want to make it look something like that, okay? And so in order to do that, we're going to use the brush tool. So I'm going to come over here to my brush tool, and let's start off. That's not the brush tool. We're going to go to the brush tool. Now that's obviously too big. That's not what we want. So Control Alt Z, step back. So I'm going to go to my brush, and I'm going to make it really quite a bit smaller. So I'm going to go right there. Okay, so the first ones we're going to do are going to be fuzzy, and I need to pick a color. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to pick a dark color and click OK. And so I'm going to click over here and see, yeah, so I have my fuzzy dots I'm going to make. And so by scrolling on the hardness, I can make them either more solid or less solid. So I'm going to click there, I'm going to click over here, click over here, here, and there. So now I want to add some dots that are a little bit more solid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the hardness 100%, and I'm going to make the size quite a bit smaller, even smaller than that. And I'm going to come around, and I'm going to put some dots in here, so like that. So give a nice little pattern to my tie. And again, the nice thing is, if I come over here, I can't mess this stuff up because it's not selected. And again, I'm going to save my changes, and after you're done with that, save all your changes. Make sure you grab the scoring guide, add your name to it, call me over, and let me grade it.